All right, this is Boxing with the Truth, and I am the Truth. Today is July 18th, 2015, and today we have the pleasure to have with us Andy Nance. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's an honor. Like we were just talking off air, you wear a lot of hats, and I know you love the sport of boxing, and we're going to talk about that here in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so lucky and fortunate that I get to work every day. It's something I love to do. I love the sport of boxing. I mean, I just have a passion for it, and I just was so blessed. Every morning I get to wake up and work all day in the sport that I love. I'm just so blessed.
And for the boxing fans, the new generation fans that might not be familiar with who you are, you actually started out your career as an amateur boxer, an outstanding amateur boxer, let me say that. Your record was actually 118 wins with 17 losses, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you actually were born in England, but you moved over here to California and pursued your career, right?
Yeah, well, I started boxing over here. When I didn't box in England. I came over here to the United States when I was 11 and started shortly after I got here. So that's where I started, about 11 or 12 years old, when I got into the amateur game. And
then you became a pro, and actually your pro record ended, unfortunately, due to circumstances due to you. We'll talk about that in a minute. But your pro record was 24 wins with 14 knockouts, 1 loss, and 2 draws, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And yep. If I understand this right, you weren't even going to become a pro. Is that correct?
No, I always kind of wanted to go to the Olympics, and that was going to be my goal, and then I was going to call it. And I just kind of stumbled into becoming a pro. Really, kind of funny the way it happened, but yeah, it wasn't my goal when I was a kid to be a pro. I just wanted to go to the Olympics, and then as time went on, and I got a little older, and these guys came and. My managers, a couple of guys who ended up managing me came in and proposed to me about fighting for them and all that. And so I said, yeah, let's do it. So that's how it happened.
Well, I mean, honestly, it was probably a pretty good decision. You had a pretty good career.
Yeah, well, I did. I got a lot of good support, and we trained hard every day. I mean, I was lucky that I was able to focus just completely on boxing because of the people that I had, with me, my managers and stuff. So I was able just to focus 100% on boxing. I didn't have to work or anything like that. So I was fortunate there as well. So yeah, I mean that helps a lot when you can just focus. You don't have to be sidetracked by having to get up and go to work, and then, you know what I mean? So I was blessed there, too. So I've been very fortunate.
And I want to bring up one fighter that you actually fought in your career, and a lot of people are going to know this name when I mention it, but a lot of them might not even know that he was actually a fighter, even though he's one of the best trainers out there right now, and that's Freddie Roach. You guys actually fought a 10-round fight, and you KO'd him in the 10th round, even though... he was close to the end of his career, and I mean, you were coming up, and you were about, almost in title contention and stuff. But it was still a pretty good fight, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a good little school. I got to be honest with you, I was pretty nervous because I'd seen Freddie fight on ESPN, a few times, and I saw that he fought. I forget the name of the guy he fought, but they had some torrid. I mean, it was like 10 rounds, just nonstop, and so I was like, I was a little nervous with the knockdown right there. I was a little nervous getting in the ring with him, but it just turned out to be a good night for me and a bad night for Freddie. So that's just the way it ended up happening. And me and Freddie, we talk about it. It's funny because when he introduces me to people, he goes, this guy here, he beat. Can I swear on this? I'm going to tell you exactly what he says word for word. I hope it's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Freddie always goes, hey, this guy beat the shit out of me. That's how he introduces me when I'm, when we're bumping into each other and stuff. So, no, we're on really good terms, and I have just, ultimate respect for Freddie. I think he's an amazing coach, and I think there's just a great job out there. So, it's funny, that I fought him and back in the day because he was a lot, obviously a lot different back then, and now he's got. I think it's Parkinson's or something like that. But he was a lot different when we fought, that's for sure.
But now, your last fight, actually, you were defending your California state title that you had, and basically that was supposed to be like a warm-up fight because you were in contention next for a world title, right?
Right. I was actually going to fight the winner of the Joel Manley Terry Marsh fight, and Terry Marsh won that fight for the IBF title, and I was going to fight him over in England for the IBF title, and unfortunately, I got injured in that last fight, so it knocked me out of the game. So I didn't get to fight for the title. Okay,
now, so what happened now? You got a concussion in that fight, and then a seizure after that, and then basically they told you were done boxing?
That's correct, yeah. It wasn't my choice. It was my retirement was forced upon me by the commission, which I guess is probably trying to be a blessing in disguise because, I'm talking the way I'm talking today. And so if I'd have kept going, who knows what would happen.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. Actually, obviously that would be hard for anybody. You're a fight away from a world title. I mean, that's every boxer's dream. And then all of a sudden your career gets cut short. So, some people are either going to, they're going to get depressed, they're going to get into the drugs, the drinking, they're going to ruin the rest of their life, or they're going to do what you actually did. You picked up the pieces, you went back to school, you got a real estate agent license, you were doing that for a while, and you've done so many different things now in the sport of boxing that, you've not only helped yourself, but you've helped other people's careers in the sport.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I was very, very depressed when I had to retire prematurely and not go to the door to fight for world title. Really, really bummed me out a lot. But I did. I started training fighters and got my real estate license and was going to college and studying psychology at San Francisco State. So yeah, I did some other things, but the whole while I was really bummed out. I really was, but. Doing those other things and especially getting into the real estate business and selling homes and trying to do well in that kind of took the same drive and motivation I have for the boxing. I just kind of transferred over to doing that and training fighters and stuff. And so I was able to just kind of transfer the desire and the drive you have to be a successful boxer over into other things, and that's what I did, and that's what enabled me to do well with the other things. Just transfer it over, basically, is what I did.
Okay, now when you fought at super lightweight, did you fight that your entire career?
Pretty much. I think I fought like maybe a lightweight one time. I fought one guy who was a junior middleweight, but for the most part, all around 140. Yeah, we're very close to it.
Okay, now in 2008, though, like I said, you may have not got the world title shot, but you were put into the California Boxing Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, that was a great honor too for me, and that was a huge honor for me because to be remembered, was I like 21 years after I retired. So yeah, I was able to get inducted into that California Hall of Fame, and it was a huge honor. Still very proud of it to this day.
Yeah, I understand, like you say, it doesn't make up for the world title, but there's guys that will never get in the Hall of Fame, not even their state Hall of Fame. So, that's still got to be, pretty much up there. The next best thing.
Huge, yeah. For me, it's huge. One of the, I'd say, like looking back on my career in boxing, definitely one of the highlights for me, for sure.
Okay, so now, like you mentioned earlier, you went on to train some fighters. You were managing. You actually, I've heard you. I don't know a lot about the matchmaking, but I've heard rumors that you're like one of the best matchmakers out there.
Well, that's not rumor. That's true. No, yeah, I am. I've been doing it now since I fell into the job of matchmaking by complete, luck, I guess. I had a kid fighting. Who was on the undercard of Vernon Forrest, Carlos Baldomir up in Tacoma, Washington, which is by coincidence. It's funny because I'm now the matchmaker for the shows up there now. But that was when I went up there to the show. I got a call from John Beninati, who was working with Gary Shaw at the time, and he asked me to help him make a fight on the show last minute. So I helped him make it. I got up there and he said, "Hey, you just like doing that?" I go, "Yeah, it was pretty cool." He said, "Call me on Monday. I got 3 more fights you can help me with." So that's how I started. I never planned to do it. It wasn't in my goal to do it, but I just started doing it like that, and then it just took off from there. And then I did real estate for one more year until 2008, and then I started doing this matchmaking full time. And I also manage a few guys. I've got a guy right now, my heavyweight, Laurent Mitchell. He's 8-0 with 8 knockouts. He's going to be fighting again on the 21st of August down in Ontario, and he's signed with Thompson Boxing Promotions, and he's doing great too. So between the matchmaking and with him, I'm still, it's a full-time gig for me.
Okay, so when you were boxing, did you actually have any type of like superstitions or habits that you had to do before a fight?
Yeah, I think all athletes do, right? So I always had to put my left shoe on first and my right glove on first. I mean, that's just, I wouldn't even put my right shoe on. I'd look all over because the shoes get separated or whatever. So I always put the left shoe on first and my right glove. That was my thing that I did. Those are the two things I can remember. There's probably more, but those are the two things that definitely stand out.
Okay,
so little quirks. Left shoe, right glove. Yeah.
Okay, but seeing the fact that you've basically almost wore every hat of every job that there is in boxing, do you consider yourself a student of the game?
A student of the game? You mean, am I still learning the business?
Well, not just that, but I mean, do you like study fighters? Do you watch tape of different fighters? I mean, like, do you watch the old school fights? Do you pay attention to every weight class, stuff like that?
I do, absolutely. I'm a huge boxing fan, and I watch every fight I can. I read. I used to read every single magazine that came out of boxing, every single one, from cover to cover. Every article, everything about everything, results, upcoming fights. I read everything. And yeah, so right now I just every time I get a chance, the fights are on. Right now, as we're doing this interview, you and I are both watching a fight right now. So yeah, I mean I watch all the fights I can watch and study the game, and I'm always trying to learn and build new relationships with because as a matchmaker, you want to have good relationships with fighters, trainers, managers, promoters, and other matchmakers. So I'm always meeting new people, developing new relationships, and strengthening the ones that I have.
Okay, and now I want to hear your matchmaking skills. I'm going to throw a fighter out there, and I want to hear what you have to say, and you've just said it on air as well. You are the best matchmaker out there. Floyd Mayweather's talking about retiring in September. He's got one fight left, supposedly. Who do you think the best matchup would be in his division for him to send him off with a great send-off and a good fight for the fans?
Well, I think based on what I've seen recently, I'd have to kind of go with Keith Thurman. I think that that would be a very interesting fight. I don't know if Floyd wants to take that kind of a risk right now at this point in his career. I heard he was going to fight Andre Berto, which is a much safer fight. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but yeah, I think Floyd's done a fantastic job of picking. He's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong. However, that being said, I think that if he was back in the era of Leonard, Hearns, Aaron Pryor, I don't think he would have been the great fighter that he is today. I think that those guys would have beat him. So I think he came around the right time. He's fought and beat whoever they put in front of him. I think he's fought him at the right times. Again, he's a great fighter. There's no doubt about it. He's a great fighter. But I just think that if he was back in the 80s, when they had Hearns and Leonard and Aaron Pryor, Duran, Chavez Sr., I think those guys all that I just mentioned would have beat him. They would have had fights on the hand. It would have been good fights, but I think they would all beat him.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's a smart fighter and he's a smart businessman.
Very smart, yeah, absolutely. He's done a fantastic job of picking the right guys at the right times. I do think that when he fought Canelo Alvarez, that Canelo Alvarez probably had a good shot to beat Mayweather, but he fought the completely wrong fight. He tried to box him, which didn't make sense to me. I think if he'd have bulldog his way and using his size and his strength and really muscled him, he may have had a shot to beat Floyd. And we all know that first fight with Castillo, that was questioned whether he won that fight anyway. A lot of people, including myself, felt that he lost that fight. So.
Okay, so once again, like I said, you've wore so many hats in this sport. To me, it's just ridiculous. I've never talked to anybody that's done so much in the sport of boxing in so many different areas. But how has the sport of boxing overall affected your life?
It's consumed my life. It's consumed my life since. Well, I got into the pro game in '81, so I would say ever since 1981, it's always been a huge part of my life. Now, I did have a 20-year period there where I sold. I got into real estate sales and investments from like '86 to like I say maybe 2006, 2007, something like that. But before that and since then, boxing has been my full-time gig. You know, that's what I did. I mean, I fought professionally for 5 or 6 years, and that was I did full-time. And then I got into the real estate towards the end of my career and worked at that for 20 years. And then ever since then, 2007, 2008, it's been back to my full-time job. So I love the sport of boxing.
Okay.
It's been my passion. It's been my livelihood. I'm blessed.
So tell me something that that the boxing fans wouldn't know about you.
They wouldn't know about me. I should have been champion of the world back in 1987. So I think that's probably what I felt. I feel like I would have beat Jerry Marsh. I mean, you know, of course he probably feels he would have beat me. But I felt like I had the tools and the ability to win that IBF world title. And I don't know how long I would have held it or anything like that, but I do think I could have won that fight to at least win the title. How I would have done after that, defending title against who, I don't know. But I strongly believe that I would have won the world title had I fought him in '87.
Okay. Now, obviously, you have tons of memories from your boxing career, from the matchmaking career, trainer career. Give me one favorite memory in your career that stands out to you.
Wow. You know, doing what I do has enabled me to meet a lot of my favorite fighters that I admired and looked up to. Roberto Duran. He was here in San Francisco back in the late '80s. I was actually hanging out with him for a couple of years here, going out with him. And I had a party here over here, and Duran came to my party. I mean, that was like huge thing to me because I love Duran. And a lot of other great fighters I've had the opportunity to meet and become, you know, friends with. So that's huge for me because obviously being a big boxing fan and having these world champions that I looked up to, admired, and now not only do I have these people I looked up to admire, but I'm friends with a lot of them now as well. So I think that's a big thing for me.
Okay, so I'm going to end the interview on this last question, and I appreciate you taking time. And like I said, You've had so much involvement in this sport, and you've seen so much that goes on behind the scenes in so many different areas that if a kid was to walk into the gym tomorrow and say to you, you know, I want to get into this sport, what type of advice would you give them?
Well, boxing is, in my opinion, to be successful and good, probably like anything you have to do, you've got to be able and willing to give it 110%, and whatever that is. And in boxing, that means getting up, running when it's raining, running when it's cold, running when you don't feel good, going to the gym every single day, dieting right, going hungry and thirsty to make weight. You know, you got to get your lumps and bruises. You got to deal with it and go on a still fight. So yeah, if a kid, letting the kid know, hey, if you want to be good, it's just what you got ahead of you. You still want to do it? And really breaking it down for him. If he says yes, then he goes for it. But it's not a thing you can do. Be a part timer at and be successful at it. To be good at the sport of boxing, you got to give it. Really do have to give it 110% to be good at the sport.
All right. Well, with that, I want to give you a chance to say something to your fans and your supporters.
Okay, well, for any of my fans that are listening to this and my supporters, I thank you all so much, and I really appreciate the. It's funny because I've been out of the sport now since I've been retiring, from actually being a professional boxer since 1987, and still to this day, people come up, talk to me, recognize me, ask me. So it feels great to still in 2015 to be recognized, and people will come up and say, "Hey, I used to love watching you fight," and stuff like that. What is that? I don't even know how many years that is later. 20 years or something later. I don't even know. But I just thank you for still doing that, because it makes me feel good.
All right, and with that, the truth has spoken.